Happy Wednesday. I'm gonna get the day of the week right this time. I don't know if you saw my video last week, but I said Tuesday. Oh no, I think I said Monday. I was way off. So this week we are going to be discussing the topic of medically assisted treatment, or medication assisted treatment, or MAT, whatever it is that you call it. So medication assisted treatment is when you use a combination of therapy and medication to treat substance use disorder. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm a nurse, I'm not any kind of medical professional. So I'm not going to get into the details of, all that kind of, medical stuff, like the medical side of it, because I don't have the knowledge or the, authority to talk about stuff like that. What I'm going to tell you about is, just the more, emotional side of it, I guess, or like the the more personal side of it, I guess, from my perspective, because obviously I don't take medication for addiction. But I will tell you about, like I said, the more personal side of it that we kind of get outside of the medical aspect. So if you know somebody who is an addict, if that is your loved one, or if that is, a family member, friend, a partner, anything like that, you may be familiar with the option to do MAT. I want to say MAT treatment, but that's not technically right, I guess, because it would be medically assisted treatment, but whatever. I might say MAT treatment. So you will probably be familiar with that. Maybe it was an option given to them, maybe they told you about it, maybe when you were researching you found information on that. And so for us, like I said, it's just something else that we might be familiar with. But I've noticed a lot that in our community, I guess, if you want to say community, our community, we kind of have a lot of stereotypes about it. We have a lot of negativity surrounding it. We have a lot of judgments and negative opinions around it. And I know that we ourselves are no stranger to that, from the outside. But I feel like a lot of the negativity that comes from, like, that surrounds MAT in our own community is from ourselves. Meaning that it's from, other people who suffer from addiction or other family members or loved ones. And I feel like that's where it comes from the most. I feel like there is a lot of, like I said, negativity, if I don't use that word too much. There's a lot of negativity that surrounds MAT because a lot of people that assume that it's just replacing one drug with another drug. So, if they use illicit drugs, it's just using like a prescription, and it's basically the same thing, and it doesn't count as them being sober or in recovery. And a lot of people like to cite like the NA program. They say that, it means that you can't be an NA, or you are not like an actual sober member or recovering member or a legit member because you are still taking medication. But I kind of wanted to, give some clarification on that. Since I am not a doctor or a medical professional, I do have statistics and I have sources, so you can do some research on your own. But I just feel like we need to clarify that because I feel like, even if our loved ones want to do better and they want to recover and they want to do what they need to do to, make them into, healthier, more positive-minded individuals, they might be kind of, shied away from doing certain treatment plans that might work for them because of the negative influence of other people, especially people who you would think would understand the most, people in our community. So I wanted to do that just to kind of, show that there are other options out there. There is information out there to kind of show, what the different options are and give more information on them. And, not to just shy away from a specific option because of what other people might think. Because I realized that, if we kind of get into this topic at all with people who are, not in the specific area that I am in, or like my partner is in, like family members who aren't that knowledgeable about addiction and things like that, they don't see medically assisted treatment the same way that people in our sphere kind of see it as. They see it as more supportive because they kind of see it as like, oh, okay, so they're getting treatment, they're getting help. They don't see it like we do, which I think is really interesting because usually it's the other way around. Usually, that the quote-unquote outsiders, I'll just say it like that, but you know what I mean. The people who are not in our community see most things not like we do, and they kind of look at us a little bit differently and have more, kind of negative leaning opinions because they don't understand. But I feel like in this one topic, it's flipped where they are more supportive because they see it as them getting help. And for us, we have, in our community, a bunch of different opinions on it and stuff. And I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. Okay, so to start out, I will give the point of NA. Okay, so I'm not in NA, I'm in Nar-Anon. That's my program. Sister program is Al-Anon, depending on which one you go to. If you go to one at all, it just depends on, like NA would be Nar-Anon and AA would be Al-Anon. So for NA, I did research on this yesterday. So they actually say in like I don't know if it would be, because like for me, I have like a blue book, and the little blue book has in Nar-Anon, that's like all your 12 steps and the traditions and the preamble and the this and that and whatever. But for NA and theirs, it says that they are free from all mind-altering substances. Okay, so I'm just going to give you that little snippet because I'm not in NA. I'm not going to give you all the background information and pretend I know what I'm talking about with that. But when they say that they are free from all mind-altering substances, that's the point, is that you are free from all of the things that make you an addict, all the things that you struggle with, all the things that, change your mentality, your mindset, your perception, everything like that. So, obviously illicit drugs will fall into that category because you're using that for nefarious purposes and it's altering your state of mind, your state of consciousness. So that is the issue with that. So if you have a prescription and you're using it under the supervision of a doctor and you are using it as it was intended, then it shouldn't be an issue because it's an actual, it's a treatment. It's something that you have a prescription for, you are being monitored for. You are not using it to alter your state of mind, to alter your state of consciousness. You are not doing it to get high. You are not doing it to make yourself feel numb to anything. You're not using it in the same way that you would use other drugs. Now here's the thing though. If you do have a prescription, or if you do have access to drugs, I will say drugs, prescriptions, whatever, to the substances that are used in medically assisted treatment, but you don't use them as they are prescribed, and you don't use them for their, overall purpose, then yes, you are using it in a bad way, and you are using it in a way that would not be supported. That's the point. Because, okay, I'm going to give you some backstory. So my partner has been on methadone, and they have actually had Suboxone before. And, in the past, there have been times when, they have been used for negative purposes. They were not picked up from a doctor. They were not prescribed. They were pretty much used in the same way as other illicit substances. So obviously, that's not okay. That's not what I'm talking about here. That's not like, well, we should be supportive because it's an actual treatment plan. No, if you use it outside of what it's made for, then it doesn't apply because that's obvious that you're not doing it how it was intended to be used. But if you are in the supervision of a doctor like he is now, he went and, the last time he was in a treatment center, he, got a doctor, he got on a treatment plan for that, he is supervised by a doctor, he gets drug tested by a doctor. None of this stuff has to do with me, for one, which is really good. And, I trust that that's how it's being used. And it is. And I can tell that he's not showing, symptoms of being under the influence of something. He's just normal. And I see him take it. And, for one, I'm not really too into the details of it because it's none of my business. But what I'm saying is when it's used, how it's supposed to be used, and in a setting that is legit, and it's not purchased from some random person on a street corner, that is good, that's positive, and that is an actual tool for recovery. So hopefully my rambling is kind of showing you the difference between the two. Because yes, there are people who use it for nefarious purposes. And, if they're abusing it, then it just falls in the same category as all the other things they were using, which is not good for them. So another thing is, too, there are different lengths of time that you can be on it. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just doing research. You can just go on Google and research it. And if you find legit websites, you can get the same information too. So some websites I go on are okay, so you go on Google, obviously, I think a lot of people remember this from school. If you go on certain articles and certain websites and stuff, you can kind of figure out what's legit and what's not. If you go on some random one that doesn't sound like it has the appropriate credentials at all, like, don't use that. I'm not going to use that. I look at actual ones that are like the Journal of Addiction Medicine, or SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Substance Abuse and Mental Health Support Administration, or something like that. Like, if you have all the legit resources, then, that's fine. So I just do my Google search, and I make sure that I get, like, legit articles so that I can share those with you, because I'm not trying to, like, be biased or anything. And if you have any comments and you have anything that you have to say, like, please let me know, okay? I'm not a genius. I'm not somebody who knows all the information. I'm just sharing my story, and this has something to do with it. So, what was I talking about? Oh, yes, there are different lengths of time that you can be on MAT. And it just depends, again, on the agreement that you have with you and your doctor. Some people are on it for just a little bit after detox, they use it to detox. Some people are on it for a couple months, some people are on it for a couple years, and some people are on it for a lifetime. It just depends on your own individual story, your own individual needs. And some people are, they have more aggressive types of addiction, I guess you could say, where some people, I don't know, it just depends. So for the more aggressive, and I think you'll understand what I say when I mean that, the more aggressive cases of addiction might require a little bit more aggressive treatment plans. So MAT would be considered an option, or maybe even if not, it just depends. Like I said, I just want to get the point across that there are options. None of those options, as long as they're positive and used in a positive, healthy setting where they are held accountable, they shouldn't be overlooked. Okay, so one of the things that I got was from it was from the SAMHSA website, but I've also seen, like, pretty much word for word the same thing on some other sites. But basically what it says is, contrary to popular belief, MAT is not replacing drugs for drugs. There's no changes with physical functions, mental capacity, intelligence, and employability. So yeah, if you're using it correctly, it shouldn't have any kind of change in any of that. Like for my partner, when he's on it, I don't notice anything. It just seems like a regular medication. I don't think he's like odd or anything. He's not like nodding out. He's not doing any kind of weird behaviors that would be, strange or whatever. So it just is supposed to be, kind of like in the background, like some medications like that. It's just in the background. Like if you're taking like an antibiotic, like if I take an antibiotic, which I did not too long ago, it's not supposed to change anything. You're not supposed to notice anything like different. I obviously don't get any kind of, mental change from taking an antibiotic. It's just something that was supposed to change, stuff that wasn't really noticeable. So it's the same thing with that. Like it's just supposed to be in the background. It's just supposed to take away, their issues with their cravings, their issues with their, dependence on it or whatever. That's it. It's not supposed to make you high. It's not supposed to make you feel good. It's not supposed to make you feel different. It's just there to maintain. And whether or not, you personally agree with that, it's something that you kind of have to discuss with your loved one, and also make sure that you're educated about it so that you don't just have like this negative perception on it. And there was actually a post that I saw. It was actually a couple months ago, but it was posted on Facebook. It wasn't in any of the groups that I'm in. It was just, I'm actually not even friends with that person. It was my partner who was friends with them on Facebook, and they found it. And it was something like, if you say you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, I assume that you take Suboxone and have overdraft fees or something like that. It was something really stupid. But the point is, and they were actually in recovery too, but the point is that whether or not you like Bernie Sanders or whatever, the political part isn't the important part of this Facebook post. The important part was that the point they were getting across is that they were using being on Suboxone as being a negative thing, or like being derogatory or being hurtful, being rude, and kind of shaming them for that. That was the point of the whole post. That was like the energy from it. And that, they're not good with money because they have overdraft fees. Basically that they're like, not good. They're like a loser. They're not somebody who should be admired. That was the point. And so I feel like it's things like that, even from within our own community, because I wouldn't see anybody, from the outside posting something like that. because they don't really care that much about it. And you know, it's just the point that we have these like negative things that are surrounding it. It's just completely ridiculous. You know, and I'll also post like kind of like looked on their page a little bit more to see if it was just a one-time thing, but it wasn't. Like they have a bunch of memes about it too, and it just wasn't good. And so my partner actually went on there to kind of like educate them, to share their own story, and they were just like mocked for it. And I'm like, okay, just let's like get off that page. It was stupid. Obviously they don't understand and they're set in their ways, but it's the point, like the whole point of me sharing my story is to get information across to people who are not in our community, you know, to kind of end the stigma of that and do my part. But it's also to, you know, educate and do my part to share to the people in our own community, to let you know that you're not alone, but also to bring up issues like this where it's important. You know, like we do not need to be stigmatizing and, you know, making outsiders out of our own community when we already have enough of that as it is. Like we don't need to do it from within as well. That's just getting too crazy, and that's just like too much. So, so that's why I wanted to share this too. So I will end with a quote, and it's funny because I will, you know, just look for quotes on Google, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I go on Google for a lot of things. And so sometimes it'll give me like little snippets of quotes like before I actually click on the article. So I found this quote and I was like, oh, that's really good. And I didn't know who it was by yet. And I looked on the article and it was by J.K. Rowling. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. I didn't really think that, you know, the author of Harry Potter would write that. I don't know. It just made me laugh. But the quote is, understanding is the first step to acceptance, and only with acceptance can there be recovery. So I thought that that was really cool. I thought that kind of like tied in very nicely with this topic, and hopefully it gives you something to think about. So like I said, you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to change and be like an advocate for Matt, like, oh, you know, like this is the best thing ever, like we all need to listen to, like, no, I just want to educate you, give you a little bit of information on it, just to kind of make you think. And if you had any negative perceptions about it, maybe you could do your own research and, you know, still decide that it's not for you. Still decide that you have the same opinions. But the point is that you at least look into it and just get a little bit more knowledge about it so that you don't just go and, you know, have these prejudices, I guess, you know, ahead of time. Like, just realize that, you know, everybody has a different story. Not everybody is going to have the same recovery plan. Not everybody is going to have the same experiences, and that's okay. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you had, you know, a loved one who, you know, misused the medications that are used in MAT, you know, I understand and I empathize with you because I went through that too. But that's not just the blanket experience, and that's not what every single person who struggles with addiction is going to do. Some of them might do it, but that's not the end goal. The end goal for that is, you know, to have it under the supervision of a doctor, to have them held accountable, to have them use it for its intended purpose, and for them to, you know, continue with their recovery plan, to continue with their sobriety, and to continue to, you know, not be held by the, you know, weight of addiction, you know, for them to actually be able to flourish in their lives and recover and get better from that, you know, because nobody has any issues with the therapy part, it's just the medication. So hopefully this video kind of enlightened you a little bit, maybe give you something to think about. And like I said, as you know, even if I don't say it, it's the same with everything. If you have any comments, if you have any input, if you have any opinions or anything like that, please feel free to let me know, because I want to hear it. I also have an open mind, and I want to, you know, be empathetic and understanding to other people's experiences, and I am not the one with all the answers. So if you have anything to share, please let me know, because I want to hear it. I want to add more knowledge to what I already have, and I just appreciate when people let me know what they think. So if you do, let me know, comment, subscribe, send me a DM, whatever it is. So send me an email, I'm sure my email is somewhere. Go on my blog, send me a message from there, whatever it is, let me know. And I'm always here if anybody needs help with anything else. If you just want an ear, or, you know, somebody who understands, if you want me to give you, I don't know if you call it advice, but just like my input on anything, if you need help with anything, any kind of topics or anything, if you want somebody to talk to, let me know. I'm here. Same thing, DMs, email, any way you can think of to contact me. And like I said, hopefully you gain some understanding, and I will see you next time.